The wind clawed at Grace Okoye's coat as she slipped through the rusted side door of Il Retiro, the supper club no map admitted existed, exactly 4 hours after her double shift was supposed to start. Her braids were fighting the humidity, her boots soaked from the waterfront fog, and the clock on her phone read 7:14 p.m., late enough to get fired, early enough to still need the money. Tomas, the shift manager, intercepted her before she reached the lockers, sweat shining on his upper lip. Grace, red room.
Now.
But that's... Hostess called out. You speak Italian. Move. His fingers clamped her elbow like a cuff. She needed the cash. Her sister's hospital in Milan didn't accept excuses. 6 weeks ago, Grace had promised the billing office next paycheck, and the lies were piling up like unpaid invoices. Who's in there? She asked, nodding the crimson apron that marked VIP staff. Tomas glanced over both shoulders. Leonardo Amato. Join us as we uncover a story of second chances, where kindness outshines status and true wealth lies in the heart. Before we begin, share where you're listening from and let us know what you think of Grace's journey at the end. Let's dive into a tale that reminds us what really matters. Hi, my beautiful family. Let's start with a blessing. Dear Lord, I ask you to surround every person watching with peace, healing, and endless love. Amen. You are not just an audience. You are my family, the reason I push through on the hardest days. For those who are new here, welcome to the family. Please subscribe, say hello in the comments, and let's grow closer together. Each story I bring is my sacrifice and devotion. When you walk away early, it feels like my heart is left unheard. Please stay with me through the journey until the very end. I love you always. Now let us begin. The name landed heavier than the fog outside. Everyone who worked the waterfront knew it. Politicians crossed the street to avoid him. Priests took his envelopes on Sundays. Tomas leaned in. Flawless service. No personality. Your furniture tonight. Grace swallowed the metallic taste of fear, squared her shoulders the way London finishing school had drilled into her, and walked the candlelit corridor that smelled of beeswax and gun oil. She paused at the matte black door, pulse drumming in her ears, then pushed it open without knocking. Protocol for the red room. Velvet swallowed the light. 5 men in midnight suits ringed the table like chess pieces waiting for the king. Conversation died. Only one gaze pinned her in place. Leonardo Amato sat at the head that shouldn't exist on a round table, shirt unbuttoned just enough to reveal the edge of a tattoo that disappeared beneath silk. Hazel eyes, cold, cataloging, scanned her the way customs agents scan luggage for contraband. He couldn't be past 40, younger than the myth, but the room bent toward him anyway. Grace felt heat crawl up her throat. 6 months earlier, she'd still been the scholarship kid from Lagos who thought fluency was armor. Italian, French, Yoruba, English, all polished at a London boarding school that cost more per term than her mother earned in a year. Armor had cracked the day the first hospital bill arrived from Milan. Armor was useless when your little sister's heart decided to stop cooperating at 16. She forced her gaze to the table, not the man. Good evening, gentlemen. Welcome to Il Retiro. My name is Grace, and I'll be your hostess tonight. Leonardo's voice cut through the velvet hush. Accent Nigerian, but refined. London. The question was casual. The interest behind it was not. A few years, she answered, keeping her tone glass smooth. May I take your drink orders? He watched her write, pen steady, though her pulse was not, then dismissed the others with a flick of 2 fingers. The men switched to rapid Italian, assuming the help was deaf to anything but English. Grace wasn't. She poured Barolo, refilled water, glided between chairs like smoke. Every syllable they traded lodged in her ears. Midnight drop, Pier 47. Port authorities on parole, but the new inspector's nosy. If the buyer flinches, we bury the whole deal, and him. Her hand trembled only once, when she set down Leonardo's glass. A single drop of red slid across the white tablecloth like a paper cut. His eyes tracked it, then her. The phone in her blazer buzzed, vibration against her ribs like a trapped moth. The Milan prefix glowed on the screen. She angled away, toward the draped wall, and answered in a whisper. Pronto. The nurse's voice was thin, urgent. Signorina Okoye, a crollata di nuovo. The arrhythmia. Worse this time. You must come. Grace closed her eyes. Vie bene. Trevero un volo. I'll find a flight. She ended the call. Silence behind her had weight. Leonardo's voice floated across the room, soft as silk over steel. Milan. She turned. Every man at the table studied her now, but only one mattered. You speak like you were born in the shadow of the Duomo, he said. Yet you serve tables in Brooklyn. Grace lifted her chin. Tips pay better than nostalgia. A smile ghosted across his mouth, gone before it arrived. The others resumed talking, quieter, faster. She caught fragments, dates, dock numbers, a name, Rossi, repeated like a curse. Dessert came and went. The men rose. Grace exhaled, already calculating. Coat, subway, pawn the watch Dad gave her, red-eyed to Malpensa. She slipped into the staff corridor, fingers on the exit bar. Tomas blocked it, face the color of dishwater. He wants you. Back room. Alone. Her stomach dropped through the floorboards. Tomas, my sister. Now, Grace. The red room was emptier, darker. Only Leonardo remained, sleeves rolled once, revealing ink that curled like smoke up his forearm. He gestured to the chair opposite. Sit. She sat. He didn't. He circled, slow. I noticed details, he said. Your pulse jumped at Pier 47. Your shoulders locked at Rossi. Grace's mouth went dry. I serve. I don't eavesdrop. Yet you understood every word. He stopped behind her. She felt his warmth like a threat. That makes you a liability. I won't repeat anything. Words are cheap. He rounded the table, leaned in until she smelled cedar and gunpowder on his skin. But I have a use for fluent liabilities. Grace pushed her feet. My sister is dying. I need to leave tonight. Something flickered in his eyes, recognition, maybe calculation. Milan Malpensa, economy one way. Roughly $1,400. She stared. He'd already priced her desperation. I can cover the ticket, he continued, and the hospital. In exchange, you work for me. Starting now. I'm not for sale. Everyone is. He straightened. You walk out that door alone. You miss the flight. You stay, your sister gets the surgeon who saves impossible cases. Choose. Grace's hands curled into fists. What exactly would I be doing? Translating. Listening. Things my current people mangle. He stepped closer. The chandelier above them swayed, crystals chiming like tiny warnings. 1 year. Then you're free. Debt cleared, sister breathing. 1 year in what world? Mine. The door opened before she answered. 2 men in long coats waited in the corridor, engine idling outside. Leonardo placed a hand at the small of her back, light, inescapable. Clocks ticking, Grace. Milan boards in 5 hours. She looked back once, at the red room, the spilled wine, the life she'd scraped together in 4 languages and 0 safety. Then she stepped into the night. The car door shut with the finality of a coffin lid. Through the tinted window, Illinois Retiro's neon sign blinked once and died, as if the building itself exhaled. Leonardo slid in beside her, already on the phone, voice low and rapid in Italian. Grace caught her sister's name, a hospital wing, a private jet. The car pulled away from the curb. Brooklyn's sodium lights smeared across the glass like wet paint. Grace pressed her forehead to the cool window and whispered the only prayer she had left. Please let this be the right kind of ruin. The SUV swallowed the prayer before it left her lips. 2 bodyguards filled the middle bench, shoulders like bridge pilings, eyes forward. Leonardo slid in last, the door sealing with a soft, expensive click. The partition rose. The world shrank to tinted glass and the low growl of a V8. Grace pressed her palms to her thighs to stop the shaking. Where are we going? Somewhere you can't run. His tone was conversational, as if discussing brunch. Seatbelt. She obeyed. The car merged onto the BQE, Manhattan's skyline shrinking behind them like a postcard she'd never send. I'm not a prisoner, she tried. Your leverage. He loosened his cuff, revealing the tail of that same tattoo. Now she saw it was a serpent eating its own tail. You heard names times cargo. People have vanished for less. My sister. Chiara Okoye, 16, dilated cardiomyopathy, Ospedale Nagarda, room 412. He recited it the way other men ordered coffee. I booked Dr. Moretti for the transplant consult. He lands at dawn. Grace's breath caught. How long have you been watching me? Long enough to know you pawned your mother's necklace last week. He turned, hazel eyes unreadable in the passing streetlight. Long enough to know you're fluent in Calabrese dialect, which my current translator butchers. Tomorrow we fly to Milan. You'll sit beside me, smile, and translate every word at a meeting I can't afford to miss here. And if I refuse? He let the silence answer. The bodyguard on her left shifted. The holster under his jacket glinted. Grace swallowed. 1 year, you said. 1 year starts when we touch Italian soil. He leaned closer, voice dropping. You'll have a room, a phone, spending money. Protection. The word tasted like iron. Protection meant cameras, trackers, doors that locked from the outside. She stared at the partition. Kiara gets the surgery either way? Surgeons don't work for free. You do, she breathes. He tapped the driver's headrest. The SUV veered off the expressway, tires humming over cobblestones. Try to run in Milan, and the deal dies with her. Grace's reflection stared back from the window, eyes too wide, mouth set hard. She looked like prey that had finally measured the trap. Iron gates parted without a sound. Floodlights carved the facade of a brownstone that had swallowed 3 neighboring buildings. Windows barred with ornamental scrolls, cameras blinking red. The SUV rolled into a courtyard walled in ivy and razor wire. Leonardo stepped out first, offering a hand she didn't take. Welcome home, Grace. She climbed down unaided, gravel crunching under her boots. The gates closed behind them with the finality of a vault. Somewhere above, a light flicked on in a third-floor window, her room, already prepared. Dear viewers, before we see what happens when Grace and Leonardo navigate this blood-bound empire they're forging, I want to ask you something. Where are you listening to this story from right now? Your bedroom, your office, on a late-night train? Drop a comment below and let me know where you're tuning in from. And if you're hooked on this tale of a desperate sister who walked into a Mafia king's trap with nothing but 4 languages and a hospital bill, hit that subscribe button and like this video. I post new dark, emotional Mafia romance chapters every day, and you don't want to miss what happens next with Grace, Leonardo, and the war they're about to ignite. Now, let's see how 1 year of servitude turns into a lifetime of power. The courtyard gates sealed with a hydraulic sigh. Floodlights bleached the ivy silver, turning the brownstone into a fortress masquerading as a home. Leonardo's hand hovered at Grace's back, guiding, not touching, until they crossed the threshold. Inside smelled of cedar and ozone. Marble stretched under a chandelier that could double as a weapon. Cameras nested in every corner, red eyes blinking in slow synchrony. 2 guards in charcoal suits flanked the double doors, earpieces glowing faint blue. They didn't nod, they catalogued. Grace's boots echoed too loudly. She folded her arms to hide the tremor. Leonardo watched the gesture the way a jeweler studies a flawed diamond. Tour, he said. He moved like the house belonged to his pulse. Past a library walled in leather-bound silence, a kitchen where copper pans hung like nooses, a gym with mirrors that reflected only his back. Staff appeared and vanished. Chef, butler, a girl polishing glass until it screamed. None met her eyes. In the atrium, a maid in dove-gray paused. She was young, cheeks hollow. As Leonardo turned to check a tablet, she leaned close enough for Grace to smell starch and fear. No woman stays long. The maid breathed, then melted into shadow before Leonardo looked up. Grace's stomach nodded. Upstairs, he opened a door to a suite the size of her old queen's apartment. Bed draped in charcoal silk, desk facing bulletproof glass, wardrobe already stocked to her size. A single red rose lay on the pillow, like a blood drop. Duties, Leonardo said, leaning against the frame. You'll interpret tomorrow's Milan sit-down, 3 parties, 2 dialects, 0 margin. You'll read rooms, faces, silences. You'll be my cultural liaison. Explain why a Calabrese pauses at the word famiglia, why a Neapolitan laughs at threats. And you'll be present. My colleagues respect beauty they can't touch. Grace's laugh cracked. I'm window dressing with subtitles. Your insurance. His gaze flicked to the rose. Insurance doesn't walk away. She stepped toward the hallway. I want to call Chiara. Now. He blocked the doorway without seeming to move. If you run, Grace, your sister will be alone. The sentence landed soft, surgical. Grace felt it slice straight to the bone. Leonardo produced a keycard, swiped it across the door's discreet panel. The lock engaged with a whisper. Bathroom stocked. Wardrobes Italian sizes. Your measurements were in the hospital file. Sleep. We leave for Teterboro at 5. He stepped back. The door shut between them. The click was gentle, final. Grace waited for footsteps to fade, then tore through the room. Drawers, cashmere, silk, no phone. Desk, stationery, pens, a leather folio with tomorrow's itinerary. Nightstand, the rose and a note in his handwriting. Welcome to the family. She yanked the wardrobe open. Dresses, coats, boots, every piece new, every tag cut off. Her blazer from Il Retiro hung alone, pockets turned out like surrendered hands. No passport. She sank onto the bed, pulse roaring in her ears. The red eyes of the cameras watched from 2 corners, patient as owls. Somewhere below, a clock chimed once. 3 a.m. Milan was 6 hours ahead. Chiara would be waking to machines and strangers. Grace pressed her face into the pillow to muffle the sound she refused to let escape. The rose stared back, petals perfect, stem wrapped in florist's wire sharp enough to draw blood. The pillow tasted of starch and defeat. Grace woke to a soft chime, 4:15 a.m., and the door unlocking from the outside. A guard filled the frame, wordless. She dressed in the charcoal cashmere they'd laid out, every seam fitting like accusation. By 4:47 she was buckled into the back of a Maybach, Leonardo beside her scrolling through encrypted messages. Dawn smeared violet across the East River as they slipped onto a service road at Teterboro. No TSA, no lines, just a Gulf Stream idling on the tarmac, stares down like a serpent's tongue. Inside the jet, cream leather and matte black fixtures swallowed sound. 2 pilots, 1 flight attendant who never smiled. The bodyguards took the rear seats. Leonardo guided Grace to the pair facing his. A tablet on the table already displayed tomorrow's agenda in Italian. Engines spooled. The plane lifted without ceremony, Manhattan shrinking to circuitry below. Leonardo poured espresso from a thermos, slid one to her. Drink. You'll need clarity. The charm arrived first. Small talk about Milan's fog, the best espresso near the Duomo, a story about his nonna teaching him to roll pasta with a broom handle. His laugh was low, genuine, startling. Grace's shoulders loosened a fraction. Then the mask slipped. His phone buzzed. He answered in clipped Calabrese, voice dropping to frost. Retardo non è un'opzione. Se il magazzino brucia, brusciate anche voi. Delay isn't an option. If the warehouse burns, so do you. He ended the call, caught her staring. Translation. Warehouse in Naples, she said automatically. Custom seizure. Someone skimmed 20%. Approval flickered in his eyes. Good. Now the test. He swiped the tablet, pulled up a recording. Two men arguing over a ledger. Dialect thick as tar. Transcribe. Real time. Grace leaned in, pen flying. The voices overlapped, insults buried in proverbs. She caught every layer, the threat to a cousin's knees, the bribe amount, the name of the port official. When she finished, Leonardo read her notes without comment, then deleted the file. Perfect, he said. You'll sit to my right tomorrow. Smile when I smile. Never speak unless spoken to. His fingers brushed hers as he took the pen. Accidental, electric. Heat flared low in her stomach. Fear doused it instantly. She jerked back. Leonardo noticed, of course. Relax, Grace. I don't take what isn't offered. The smile returned, edged now. But everything here is mine until the year is up. The flight attendant served breakfast, ricotta pancakes, prosciutto so thin it dissolved. Grace picked at it while Leonardo worked, the cabin pressurized with his presence. Every so often he'd glance up, ask a soft question about Milanese customs, then retreat into silence that felt like judgment. Near the end of the flight, the bodyguard with the scar leaned forward. Signore, Rossi's men are already at Linate. They know we're coming. Leonardo's expression didn't change, but the air chilled 10 degrees. Then we don't land at Linate. Grace's pulse spiked. Where? Malpensa cargo. Private strip. He met her eyes. Rossi thinks in straight lines. We don't. The jet banked sharply, engines throttling down. Through the window, the Alps rose like broken teeth. Grace gripped the armrest. Leonardo's hand settled over hers, warm, steady, possessive. Breathe, he murmured. You're with me now. The wheels kissed tarmac with a scream. Stairs descended into gray dawn. 3 black sedans idled beyond the chain link, drivers scanning the horizon. No signage, no welcome, just the smell of jet fuel and wet asphalt. Leonardo stood, buttoning his coat. Milan, he said, offering that same untouchable hand. Try to keep up. Grace took it, skin prickling where his fingers closed around hers. The cars revved, doors opening like jaws. The sedans carved through Milan's pre-dawn fog, headlights slicing tunnels of gold. Leonardo sat beside Grace, thumbs scrolling messages, the city's pulse sinking to a silence. When they pulled into Ospedale Nagarda staff entrance, a side door opened before the car stopped. 2 nurses waited, clipboards lowered, eyes flicking to Leonardo with the reverence usually reserved for royalty. He stepped out first, hand extended. Grace took it because refusing felt like stepping into traffic. His grip was warm, proprietary. Cameras tracked them through corridors that smelled of bleach and espresso. Nurses nodded. Orderlies parted. No one asked for ID. Room 412 was dim, monitors beeping a fragile lullaby. Amara lay small against white sheets, braids fanned like spilled ink. 16 going on 60, eyes too wise for the oxygen cannula taped to her cheek. Grace. Her voice cracked with disbelief and relief. Grace flew to the bed, careful of tubes. I'm here, baby. I'm here. She pressed kisses to Amara's forehead, tasting salt and hospital soap. Leonardo lingered by the door, a shadow in cashmere. A nurse approached with a tablet. He signed without reading. The woman bowed, actually bowed, then vanished. Amara's gaze slid past Grace to the man. Color drained from her face. You can't work for him, she whispered in Italian, fingers clutching Grace's sleeve. Papa warned us about men like that. Debts that never die. Grace frowned. Papa died before you were born. Amara's eyes darted to Leonardo, then away. He left letters. Said if a man named Amato ever came for us, run. The name hit Grace like cold water. She turned. Leonardo's expression hadn't changed, but his knuckles whitened on the phone. A commotion at the door. Wheelchair, floral robe, oxygen tank. An elderly woman rolled in, escorted by a flustered aide. Her eyes, milky with cataracts, fixed on Leonardo. Matteo, she croaked, voice trembling. Matteo, mio figlio? Leonardo froze. The room's air thickened. For one heartbeat, the predator vanished. A boy stood in his place, shoulders curling inward. Signora Moretti, he said gently, switching to Italian. You're confused. Matteo's been gone 20 years. The woman blinked, tears spilling. You have his eyes, his mouth. Forgive me. She clutched a rosary, wheeled away. Grace stared. Leonardo's jaw worked. He looked suddenly human, breakable. He recovered fast. Dr. Moretti's consult is in 1 hour, he told the nurse who'd returned. Clear the wing. Full payment wired. To Grace, your sister needs the transplant. I'll cover it. Grace stepped between him and the bed. You don't get to buy her. I already did. He gestured to the monitor, numbers climbing, stable. The surgeon's on my jet. He lands in 40 minutes. Amara's machines beeped faster. Grace took her sister's hand. How bad? The younger girl's whisper barely stirred the air. They said next collapse might be the last. Leonardo moved closer, voice soft as silk over razors. The surgery scheduled for tomorrow. Best cardiac team in Europe. Success rate 92%. Grace's laugh was brittle. And the price. He met her eyes. Same as always. You. Amara's fingers tightened. Grace, no. But the monitor screamed. Arrhythmia. Red lights flashing. Nurses rushed in, Leonardo barking orders in flawless medical Italian. Grace was pushed aside, watching strangers fight for her sister's heart while the man who owned her future signed another invisible contract. When the crisis passed, Amara slept, sedated. Leonardo stood at the window, dawn painting gold across his profile. Grace approached, voice low. Matteo was your father. A muscle jumped in his cheek. He was a debt collector. Died badly. And you collect his debts now. Some debts collect you. He turned. Your father borrowed for mine. Protection for his daughters in Italy. He paid with silence. Then he died. Grace's world tilted. You knew him. I know everything. He touched the glass where Milan woke beyond. The surgery happens tomorrow. You'll be in the gallery, watching, translating post-op instructions. Then we visit the warehouse. Grace's reflection stared back beside his, two prisoners in the same cage. Amara stirred, mumbling in her sleep. Grace returned to the bed, pressing her lips to her sister's temple. Leonardo's voice floated from the doorway. Family first, Grace. Always. The machines beeped on, counting down to a surgery she couldn't refuse, and a debt older than her grief. The hospital's fluorescent hum faded behind them. By dusk, Leonardo's convoy cut through Milan's Centro Storico to a palazzo-turned-private club, its courtyard lit by torches that hissed in the rain. Grace stepped from the car in a midnight silk dress, chosen, hemmed, delivered while she watched Amara sleep off sedation. Leonardo's hand settled at her waist, guiding her past velvet ropes and whispered passwords. Inside, the dining room breathed old money, frescoed ceilings, Murano chandeliers, a table set for 8. 3 men rose, Naples, Rome, Palermo, each flanked by silent muscle. Their eyes slid over Grace like oil, then fixed on Leonardo with the hunger of wolves who'd scented blood. Signor Amato, the Neapolitan purred, kissing cheeks. And the translator. Leonardo's grip tightened a fraction. Grace speaks for me tonight. They sat. Grace's chair was pulled out by a gloved waiter. Leonardo's fingers brushed hers as he took the seat beside her, casual, claiming. Wine flowed, red as fresh cuts. Conversation began in pleasantries, then slid into dialect so dense it felt like code. Grace translated without pause. Naples wanted the port's schedule shifted. Rome demanded a higher cut. Palermo hinted at a missing shipment. She rendered every nuance, threats wrapped in proverbs, bribes disguised as compliments. Leonardo listened, nodded, let her steer the current. Mid-course, Palermo's second leaned in, murmuring to his boss in a Calabrese slur too fast for the others. Grace caught it anyway. Dopo cena, Illinois Vicolo. Un colpo solo. After dinner, the alley. 1 shot. Her pulse stuttered. She lifted her water glass, pinky extended, code they'd rehearsed on the jet for danger now. Leonardo's eyes flicked to the signal, then to Palermo's man. No one else noticed. Dessert arrived, tiramisu dusted with gold. Leonardo pushed his plate aside. Gentlemen, he said in Italian, your terms are generous. Too generous. Naples takes 60%, Rome 30%. Palermo walks away clean. But the missing crates. He turned to Palermo, voice velvet over steel. Were rerouted to your cousin in Genoa. Insurance fraud, see? We have photos. Palermo's smile froze. Rome's hand slid toward his jacket. Grace's translation was instant calm. Senior Amato has satellite timestamps. The containers never left the dock. Leonardo produced a tablet, slid it across. Grainy images, cranes, license plates, Palermo's cousin waving. The room temperature plummeted. Naples laughed first, short, approving. Rome exhaled through his teeth. Palermo's face purpled, but the math had shifted. Leonardo's new terms were accepted in under a minute. Equal splits, no blood. The photos destroyed. As brandies were poured, Palermo leaned close to Leonardo, voice low. Brava, the girl. But she's your new weakness, Amato. Leonardo's smile didn't reach his eyes. Weakness is a luxury I don't allow. Grace felt the words like a brand. The rivals filed out, rain swallowing their taillights. In the sudden quiet, Leonardo lifted her chin with 2 fingers. You saved my life, he said softly. I saved the deal. Same thing. His thumb traced her jaw, featherlight, then dropped. Tomorrow the warehouse. Tonight you sleep. The torchlight flickered across his face. Approval, possession, something dangerously close to pride. Outside, thunder rolled over the rooftops. Grace followed him into the car, the rival's warning echoing louder than the storm. She's your new weakness. And for the first time, Leonardo hadn't denied it. The Chapter 7, Confessions and Consequences. The villa's gates closed with a clang that swallowed the storm. Rain lashed the courtyard fountains, turning marble cherubs into weeping ghosts. Leonardo's shoes struck the terracotta like gunshots as he led Grace through the loggia, past guards who melted into shadows. Inside, the fire crackled too loud, throwing gold across his cheekbones. He stopped at the study doors, spun her by the wrist. You lifted your glass. Grace yanked free. You're welcome. You think Palermo's man didn't notice? His voice cracked like a whip. One wrong blink, and you'd be bleeding on that table. You put me in danger the moment you locked that car door in Brooklyn. She stepped into his face, chin high. Don't pretend concern now. Leonardo's nostrils flared. He poured 2 fingers of grappa, downed it, poured again. Sit. She stayed standing. Talk. He paced to the window, rain streaking the glass behind him. My father, Matteo, was a butcher in a suit, collected debts with pliers. When the old woman called me by his name, every man in that hospital remembered the stories. He turned, eyes raw. I swore I'd never be him. Yet here I am, dragging a girl across an ocean because she speaks the right dialect. Grace's anger faltered. Then let me go. I can't. He set the glass down untouched. 3 days ago, a letter arrived. Hand-delivered, no return. 1 line in Old Calabrese. I'll serpent mangia la coda, ma la testa e ancora viva. The snake eats its tail, but the head still lives. He pulled a folded sheet from his jacket, paper thick as parchment, ink faded to rust. Only 3 people alive speak that village tongue. 1's dead. 1's in prison. The 3rd is me. Grace finished, recognizing the cadence her nana hummed over Sunday ragu. She took the letter. The words crawled under her skin. It's a death sentence. For you. Leonardo nodded once. I needed someone who could read between the syllables. Someone the sender wouldn't suspect. His gaze softened, lethal and pleading. I chose you before I ever walked into Il Retiro. Grace's laugh was brittle. So, I'm a decoder ring with a pulse. You're the only person who's ever saved my life without being paid to. He crossed the room in 2 strides, stopping just short of touching her. Tonight you moved like you'd been at my side for years. That terrifies me more than any bullet. The fire popped. Rain hammered the shutters. Grace felt the inches between them shrink to nothing, his breath warm with grappa, her pulse loud in her ears. She lifted a hand to his chest, not pushing, not pulling, just feeling the frantic beat beneath silk. Leonardo. His mouth hovered over hers, hesitation foreign on his face. Tell me to stop. She didn't. The kiss was slow, deliberate, anger transmuting into something sharper. His hand slid to the nape of her neck, thumb tracing the edge of her braid. Grace's fingers curled into his shirt, tasting smoke and storm. For one heartbeat, the world was only heat and confession. Glass exploded behind her. The window shattered inward, rain and shards spraying the rug. Leonardo spun, shielding her with his body as a second shot punched the opposite wall. Guards burst through the doors, weapons raised. He shoved Grace behind the desk, voice lethal calm. Lights out. Perimeter sweep. Now. Darkness swallowed the room. Grace's ears rang. She clutched the letter, paper cutting her palm. Leonardo crouched beside her, gun drawn from nowhere, eyes scanning the black. Stay low, he whispered. They know you're here. Outside, tires screamed on wet gravel. Then silence thick, waiting. Grace pressed her forehead to the desk's cool wood, the taste of him still on her lips. The snake's head was alive, and it had found them both. The study plunged into blackout. Red emergency strips glowed along the baseboards like veins. Leonardo's hand clamped Grace's wrist, dragging her through a side door she hadn't seen open. Gunfire stitched the night outside, muzzle flashes strobing through shattered windows. Move, he hissed, shoving her ahead into a narrow service corridor. Boots pounded behind them. A guard shouted in Italian, then cut off with a wet gurgle. Grace's bare feet slipped on marble slick with rain and blood. They burst into the kitchen. Copper pans swung like pendulums. A bodyguard slumped over the island, throat opened ear to ear. Leonardo snatched a pistol from the man's holster, pressed it into Grace's hand. Safety's off. Point and pull. I don't. Now you do. He kicked open a pantry door, revealing a steel-safe room. Inside, monitors, rifles, a single chair. He locked them in, breath ragged. Screens flickered to life. 6 black-clad figures fanned across the courtyard, moving with military precision. One lobbed a canister. Tear gas bloomed white. Another wired the front gate with C4. Grace's stomach lurched. This is a hit. Rossi, Leonardo snarled, checking a magazine. He wants the letter. And you. The monitor showed a gunman scaling the loggia, silhouette spidering toward the study. Grace's knees buckled. Leonardo caught her, grip bruising. Eyes on me. His voice cut through the chaos. You breathe, you translate, you survive. That's the job. A filing cabinet in the corner hung open, spilled folders, yellowed with age. Grace's foot nudged a photograph. Her father, younger, standing beside a man with Leonardo's eyes. Matteo Amato. On the back, handwritten, Lagos, Milano, 2001. Protezione accordata. Her blood turned to ice. Leonardo saw it too. His jaw locked. Grace snatched the folder. Immigration papers, her family's visa stamps, her father's signature witnessed by Matteo Amato. A debt ledger, $47,000, marked paid in full the day before Papa's heart attack. You knew, she whispered. Before Il Retiro. Before the call. He didn't deny it. Just reloaded the rifle with a metallic snap. Outside, the C-4 detonated. The villa shuddered. Dust rained from the ceiling. Monitors went black one by one. Leonardo keyed a panel. A section of wall slid aside, revealing a narrow stair spiraling down. Wine cellar. Tunnel to the river. We go now. Grace clutched the papers to her chest. Answer me. Gunfire echoed closer. Boots on terracotta. He grabbed her chin, forcing her gaze to his. I knew your name. I didn't know your face. Not until you said pronto in that kitchen. His thumb smeared a streak of blood across her cheek. Whose? She couldn't tell. Doesn't change the math. You're in this. A muffled explosion rocked the safe room door. Sparks flew from the hinges. Leonardo yanked her into the stairwell. Darkness swallowed them, the smell of damp stone and gunpowder thick as incense. Behind, the door buckled inward. They ran. Grace's voice cracked against the walls. Did you already know who I was? His silence stretched longer than the tunnel. At the bottom, a rusted gate barred a canal slick with rain. Leonardo shouldered it open. Moonlight glinted off the water, off the pistol still in her hand. He finally spoke, low and lethal. Your father saved my life once. I owed him a daughter's future. Consider the debt transferred. Grace stared at the gun, at the papers, at the man who just shielded her from bullets meant for them both. Footsteps thundered above, Rossi's men breaching the cellar. Leonardo stepped into the boat tied at the hidden dock. Get in, Grace. War's here. Choose your side. She climbed aboard, the folder soaked and heavy in her fist. The engine roared to life, cutting black water toward the city's glowing heart, and whatever came next. The boat knifed through black water, Milan's lights smearing across the canal like wet paint. Leonardo cut the engine beneath a stone bridge, letting momentum carry them into shadow. Silence pressed in, broken only by dripping oars and distant sirens. Grace clutched the soaked folder to her chest. Start talking. Leonardo tied the bow line to a rusted ring. Moonlight carved his face into edges and hollows, 1998. Lagos. My mother was pregnant with me, cornered in a market by 3 men with machetes. Your father, Emeka Okoye stepped in, took a blade to the ribs so she could run. He touched the serpent tattoo curling from his collar. This is her heartbeat. The day I was born, she swore the debt would find its way home. Grace's breath clouded in the cold. He never told us. He carried it alone. Leonardo's voice roughened. Matteo paid for your visas, your mother's nursing courses, the flat in Milan. Marked it closed the day Emeka died. But I reopened the ledger the moment I took his chair. She stared at the papers, her father's blood on the debt line literally. You orchestrated everything. I searched for the daughter who spoke Calabrese like a lullaby. Found hospital records, school transcripts, a waitress fluent in 4 languages. Then you answered that call in my kitchen. His eyes glinted. Fate's cruel sense of humor. Grace's laugh cracked. Let me go. Debt's paid. He stepped closer, water lapping at their boots. Rossi knows about Amara. One call, and her machines stop. I can protect her. No one else can. The choice settled on her shoulders like wet wool. Walk away, Amara dies. Stay. Become the thing she feared. Grace lifted her chin. I stay until she's stable. Then I walk. I belong to no one. Not even you. Leonardo studied her a long moment, then did something she'd never seen. He smiled. Small, crooked, almost boyish. Then I suppose we negotiate. He offered his hand. She didn't take it, but climbed onto the dock unaided. The city hummed beyond the bridge. Sirens, church bells, the low growl of another engine. His phone buzzed. He answered in clipped Italian, face hardening. Intercettato di nuovo. Napoli. Stesso caudice. Another shipment gone. Same signature. He ended the call, looked at Grace. Pack a bag. We leave at dawn. She tasted copper, fear, adrenaline, resolve. For where? Leonardo's gaze lifted to the horizon where the sky bled from black to ash. Where all wars begin. He walked into the darkness. Grace followed, the folder dissolving in her grip, ink running like tears into the canal. Behind them, the boat drifted empty, rocking gently in the current that carried everything downstream. Dear viewers, so what do you think? Did Grace and Leonardo and little Amara get the family they deserved? Could you fight for a child who wasn't yours by blood, risk everything for a sister you'd cross oceans to save? What makes someone a real protector, a real partner, a real home? Drop a comment and let me know. And tell me, have you ever been someone's Grace? The one who translated danger into survival, who saw past the gun to the man shielding you from bullets? Or have you needed someone to see you that way? Past the fear, past the chaos, straight to the heart underneath? We all need people who choose us, who stay when the villa burns, who fly private jets at dawn because a 16-year-old's heart can't wait. If you love the story about a broke hostess dragged into a mafia war, about a Don who found his humanity in a hospital room, about 2 sisters who discovered family isn't just blood, it's the hand that pulls you from the canal when the shooting starts, smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell. I post new high-stakes romantic thrillers every day, and you don't want to miss what's waiting in Naples. Like this video if you want more stories about found alliances, about enemies becoming the only safe harbor, about siblings who rewrite the rules of loyalty, about one perfect translation that saves a life. Your likes tell me you crave more stories about real love, dangerous, negotiated, unbreakable love. This is Blissful Stories, where families are forged in fire, not paperwork, where a single sentence in dialect can shift empires, and where the best love stories begin with someone brave enough to stay when every instinct screams run. Until tomorrow, remember, you don't have to be blood to be bound. Sometimes all it takes is one choice, one flight, one whispered I stay. Be someone's grace. Translate someone's silence. Change someone's war. Now go lock your doors and hug your people.